Hello and welcome back to the podcast. So we've got someone today who has been upgraded from just a podcast guest into a friend of the show because it's his second time coming back. It's an elite list. Welcome back,
Whoa,
Mr. Toby Martin.
that's been sprung on me, and I'm honoured. I'd like to thank my family, my friends, everyone who's helped me to reach this impressive accolade.
Yeah, the Academy, obviously, or
Yes.
God, yeah, absolutely, all these people. So welcome back, Toby. So I understand that things have changed slightly since we last caught up. So you've made the brave decision of going from a nice employed role with a great company and a great position
Yeah.
at Bath to now going out on your own. So fill in the gaps. What's going on?
When you put it like that, Chris,
Is it too late to change our mind?
I am I mad? So you're quite right. I've jumped the fence, and no longer am I a day-to-day agent. And towards the end of 2024, I made the. Oh, have you ever done something where a lot of people call you brave, and yeah, we all know what that means, don't we? Are
Yeah,
you crazy?
pretty much.
God, Toby, you're so brave. Okay, so yes, I made the brave decision to leave my wonderful agency behind. And do you know what? This had been a long time coming, and I don't know if anyone listening to this has can empathize with this feeling, but sometimes you just know that it's time for a change, and especially when you are comfortable in a role and it's a perfectly successful role and a successful business, that's a very difficult decision to make. But the key thing I think that had changed inside of me, and you know, it took a long time to work this out. Even after I left the company, it took a long time to work out exactly what I wanted to do next. But I realized that what really lights a fire in me these days is working with fellow property professionals. And I had a big year last year. I had lots of wonderful opportunities that popped up. And I think some of those opportunities helped to crystallize that rationale in my mind. I got to speak at Property Mark 1. I got to organise and speak at Prop X, all the while rubbing shoulders with tremendous fellow professionals. And that whole thing of sharing ideas, of trying to help inspire others, trying to help others to succeed, that I realized is what does light a fire in me. And for me, not to get too poetic on you, it kind of does feel like I've come full circle because I did once upon a time spend very many years training to teach and then doing that. And whilst I'm not saying that I am a teacher, it does feel like finally I'm getting to put some of that student loan to good use. Because what I love doing is that process of helping others to see the path forwards, helping others to clarify their ideas and to grow personally, professionally, their business, their company. That's what I love doing. So here I am, 2025, still in the agency world, but with a slightly new angle on it.
Yeah, great. I always say to people, you've got that desire to be self-employed or to have your own business. That isn't going anywhere. So your choices are either kind of buckle up and you're going to get on with it and you're going to jump
Yeah.
into the deep end and go for it sort of thing. And you can look back and go, best idea, worst idea, you were very brave, whatever the expression might be off the back of it. Or you can kind of take it to your grave and you can be on your deathbed and go, oh, I should have gone self-employed when I was 42 or whatever it may be. I should have done it back then. So either way, that feeling isn't going anywhere. So you either do something about it and kind of like buckle up and let's go for it, or you just don't and you kind of either regret it or don't regret it later on down the line.
Yeah, and I know that there would have been people listening to this who would have been in a similar situation, perhaps not with the same angle that I'm at, you know, going from a day-to-day agency life to consulting and training. But obviously, we all know the massive thing that is self-employed agency. So whatever form that leap into self-employment is, it's a big step. And having now taken that myself, however bravely or stupidly that was, it's not something that can be done lightly. And the 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 most frustrating thing when you're in the eye of the storm, when you're trying to decide what to do next, is you have people who have done it very successfully saying to you, look, you'll never look back. It will be the best thing you've ever done. And it's very easy to look back and think it was. And I'm only a few months down the line, and who knows how this is going to pan out for me. I've got positive feelings about that, but who knows? However, I'm already thinking to myself, if I can make a success of this, then yes, it will have been the best step I've ever taken. So when you're on the precipice, it's very daunting. It's the hardest step to take. But once you've taken that step, even if you are in free fall, you can already see the benefits. You can already see, God, yeah, if this works out, if I can make this work, if I can make this successful, then it will change my life. And that's where I am right now. It's
So talk me,
exciting.
well, talk me through the sort of the business on a postcard or a napkin sort of thing. So
Yeah.
you obviously have your consulting business. You've kind of alluded to that already. Who are you working with? Who are you helping? What are you trying to help them achieve, etc.
Yeah, well, my cheesy one-liner is I help make businesses memorable, Chris.
Ooh.
So that can be any form of business. That can be your estate agency, your lettings agency. I have a real passion, a real thing about standing out from the crowd, about making yourself memorable, making yourself noticeably different from your competitors. To delve into that slightly deeper, my specialism is lettings. That's been my background for the last 13 years. So I have this belief, this firm belief, which I'm going to find out very soon if it's true or not, that there are a great many sales only agents out there who could really benefit in numerous ways from doing lettings. I do fear that there is this widespread concern about the world of lettings. It's seen by many as the dark arts, as something to be feared, and for there are good reasons why you should look at it that way. However, moving into lettings, if you don't currently do it, could be one of the best things you've ever done. And so I believe that there are a great many sales agents out there who would make that step if they had some expert guidance in doing so. So that is what I offer. So there's that move into lettings is one of the niches of my business. Then there's also, the more widespread issue of, like I say, just helping your business to stand out from the crowd, finding a way to be different to the competition. And that can be any kind of business, sales, lettings, whatever you like.
And why don't you think more kind of strictly sales agents? Why don't you think more of them do lettings? Because is it a bit like eating vegetables? Like we all know we should eat vegetables, but then it's like vegetables. Like it's a bit like salespeople are like, oh yeah, I know I should do lettings. It's good money into the business. It's recurring revenue. But then they're like, yeah, but it's lettings.
Yeah.
But why do you think more people don't do it?
So now, here come the caveats. I know that there are a great many businesses out there who only do sales or only do lettings, and you're doing great. You're profitable, you're succeeding, and I'm not out to knock your business. So before you write in to Chris, because he's a busy enough man as it is, hear me out. So I see a sales only or a lettings only business as somebody who is only offering half of what they could do. It's an incomplete circle. You are potentially missing out on opportunities. So even if your business is perfectly successful, if you still have that desire to grow, if you still have that desire to expand your business, this is a very viable path for you. Tenants become buyers, buyers become landlords, landlords become investors, investors need tenants who become buyers, who become landlords, and so on. Without being able to offer that full circle of service, you will find that opportunities slip through the cracks. And you might paper over those cracks by forming some partnerships with local agents who perhaps complement your own services, but that simply won't be as profitable as doing it yourself. So if you want to properly grow your business to its greatest potential, there's no reason why you shouldn't have that 360-degree service. I think the reason why people steer away from that sometimes is the fear. Lettings is rife with legislation. It's complex. There are bear traps. It's punitive if you get it wrong. I don't think you can fake it till you make it in lettings. I think you get found out if you don't know your stuff. So you do have to know what you're doing. You have to have the knowledge and expertise in your field. But shouldn't we have that anyway? We should have that within our sales business. You should know what you're doing. So you shouldn't be afraid of embracing new expertise, new knowledge. There's myriad ways that you can get that knowledge and expertise, different qualifications, different courses, or simply you can bring someone into your business who does have that expertise, and that's another viable way of doing it by speaking to someone like me. So that's one reason. There's two others. One is the appeal, the benefit of having guaranteed income. And we are all familiar with the volatility of the sales market and those quieter, those troughs that complement the peaks in your income. So just the advantage of having that monthly income ticking along, even from a small lettings portfolio, if it covers your basic monthly costs, then you can see your sales income as pure profit. And someone pulled me up on that the other day and said, well, it's not pure profit, is it? Because you're investing in marketing with every sale. Yeah, I get that. But if those costs are covered by your recurring monthly income, then suddenly sales becomes more of a I want to use the word luxury. That's the wrong word, but something that is almost purely profitable. And the third, now I think I'm quite familiar with your audience, Chris, and there's a possible that there might be some masochists listening in who want to do sales until the day they die, who love estate agency so much that they never want to give it up. But the majority of us someday surely want to retire and go and live on a yacht or whatever it might be. And so you need an exit plan at some point, and that might be 30 years away, depending on where you are in your career, but you've got a plan towards it. And the most effective way of adding value to your business is by building a lettings portfolio. You speak to any broker, and they will tell you that when they come to value your business, it's your rental income because it is ongoing and it's guaranteed future earnings for your purchaser. Then that is what carries the weight of value to your business. So if you ever want to do that, then adding lettings will be the best thing you've ever done. Those are my three gold reasons for why everyone listening should do lettings.
Yeah, I'd imagine that people kind of probably fall into one of three camps. I'd imagine there's kind of the die hard, you can tell me no otherwise. I will only do sales. Lettings is this and lettings is that, and I'm never going to touch it with a barge pole sort of thing. And everyone asks saying, do you do lettings? You say no, unfortunately not. There's the ones that sort of have the ones where they kind of, if it falls in their lap, they'll be like, okay, I'll take that rental sort of thing. And then there's ones that kind of proactively kind of go after it and kind of for all the reasons you mentioned there with regard to growing businesses, etc. So those are kind of, as I see it, the sort of three areas that people fall into. What sort of what do you think the guys have seen, the ones that actually really go for it, compared to the ones that have it kind of fall in their lap or the no side? Do you think it's purely on a monetary side of things they look at it and go, actually, my exit strategy is going to be to sell, or what do you think they've kind of seen that no one else has in the other first two camps?
I think that we've entered a really trying, taxing time to be growing a lettings portfolio. There's no getting around that. Go back a couple of years. For some reason, COVID was fantastic for lettings. You don't hear people talk about the positives of COVID enough, Chris. Well, if you're a lettings agent, it was great for business. We saw all of these Airbnbs came to the private rental market, and obviously people weren't selling, so just this influx of lettings properties. People grew their portfolios in their sleep. That has completely turned on its head now, and there's no getting around it. You've got to be smart and astute to grow your lettings portfolio. So looking at people who dip a toe in versus people who dive in head first, then I'd say if you're just dipping in your toe, you're going to be faced with very limited success and slow growth. Probably just clients falling into your lap, perhaps through the sales that you complete. If you happen to be working with an investor who's not currently tied to another lettings agency, then you might get to let out their property. But landlords are becoming increasingly cautious because of the rental reforms that are currently on the agenda, and because of the financial constraints that have been placed on landlords over the last 5 to 10 years that have hit them in their bottom lines. They're becoming more prudent with their decision making and more reserved in where they place their trust and where they put their money. And so you do have to work harder to win a landlord's instruction now, because it's a long-term relationship. It's not something that will only last a few months. If it goes well, that landlord wants to leave their property with you for years, and they probably want to give you their keys and, to an extent, walk away, leave you with that property and trust that you're going to be looking after it. So I do think that if you want that faster growth in your business, you do have to do it wholeheartedly and thoroughly, and leave no stone unturned. If you just want to dabble, then of course that's fine. It's your business. You do what you want. But I think you had to prepare yourself that those costs you're incurring, if you're adding lettings to your Rightmove subscription, you're embracing that extra cost, and any others that come with adding a new string to your bow, updating your terms, updating your literature, updating your website. Why wouldn't you use that as an opportunity to do it properly? Because yeah, dipping your toe in is going to lead to very moderate success.
So talk me through this. So you've kind of alluded to one of the sort of hardships, I imagine, of growing a lettings portfolio, and that is that landlords are reluctant to move from one lettings agent to another because it's a pain in the backside, basically.
Yeah.
I've got rental properties, and something pretty catastrophic would have to go wrong with my current lettings agent for me to move, just because I can't be bothered. So therefore, I turned a not necessarily a blind eye, but I kind of shrug my shoulders at lots of things. I'm like, ah, it's bad, but it's not bad enough to make me leave, sort of thing. So talk me through. So let's say, for example, you come to see me for the day, and I inquire, and I get Toby Martin services into me, and I'm like, Toby, look, I do sales at the moment, and I want to do some lettings. I want to get some landlords on my books, get some of that residual income you've talked about, and get that yacht you talked about in 20 years' time, sort of thing. What are the steps in the process we would go through to kind of start growing my lettings business?
Yeah. So I like to look at this like you're building a house, which is very neat because obviously we're talking about property. So you got the foundations. First of all, you've got to build on solid foundations. And now I'm going to use an analogy here. I have no idea if it's correct or not because I'm not an architect. So again, please don't write into Chris. The foundations of every house, I imagine, are pretty much the same, and you can't see them. They're somewhere under the ground, but they are probably pretty much the same. And as such, any agency is going to have similar foundations. Those are your basic processes and systems of managing and processing a tenancy, of onboarding a client, of making sure you're compliant and you're ticking all your boxes, you're registered with the right bodies, and you're not going to get a fine from trading standards because you forgot to put a relevant certificate on the wall. So you're going to have your basic building blocks to grow your house on, and everything from the ground up, though, that's where you get choices. That's where you can make your house, or in this case, your business, memorable. You get to choose the brickwork, the what type of windows, the roofing, and it is bewildering to me how many estate agents choose identical materials to build their companies with. And there's something that I like to do, and I know people are split on this about how much attention you should pay to the competition. And some people say, yeah, you should know your competition inside out. Others say, let them do what they want. It doesn't matter to us. We should concentrate on ourselves. I do like to look at other businesses, but from the perspective of seeing how similar they are. And it is astonishing. If you look at a company website, how similar they are. If you look at their terms, if you look at their landlord or seller literature, how similar they are. And it's almost as like we're all trying to be the same. So the angle that I come at this from is, what can we do to stand out from the crowd? There's to just be a bit of a marketing nerd for a minute, there's a quote from Seth Godin that I come back to time and time again, which is, in a crowded marketplace, blending in is the same as being anonymous, or words to that effect. And in our world, in our market, it is astonishing just how much some businesses do blend together. So once we've laid those solid foundations, I like to look at how we can stand out from the crowd, because we are a very crowded marketplace, and every landlord looking for a new agent is going to speak to two, three, four different agents. They are going to look at your competition. And so, given that there are so many identikit companies out there, you actually have a really good opportunity to be different. And I'm not saying that we all need to go crazy and sort of walk into every market appraisal in surf shorts and sunglasses. No, but I like to look at the landlord experience, and from the very first moment. And I'll say to a lot of agents, what is the first step in a landlord journey? And they'll say, well, it's the market appraisal, but it's not, because we live in an age where people value information and information is so accessible to them that that landlord will have done so much work already before they meet you. They would have done so much research, and they would have scoured the internet looking at you and your competition. So, what have you already done by the market appraisal stage to start winning that instruction? Because by the time you cross the threshold, that landlord could be up to 70% of the way through their decision making. So, have we got a breadcrumb trail in place across social media, across our website, in the lead up to the market appraisal, directly with the client, that shows them who we are, that shows them the standards of our service, that shows them the extent and breadth of our knowledge and expertise. And there are so many different ways to do that. So, sharing your personality, sharing your expertise and your knowledge, that is all integral to what I do, and we've only got up to the market appraisal stage there. There's so much more to come throughout the rest of the process, but obviously winning business is heavily weighted in those days and even hours leading up to the market appraisal. So that is something that we go into very thoroughly.
I like that. I like that a lot. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of, I'm going to butcher this, but the Full Fee Agent, the book, and it says you're either the Joker or basically either you're in prime position because you've done all the work beforehand and basically
Yeah.
it's kind of yours to lose effectively, or kind of you're the padding around it and kind of you've got an uphill struggle sort of thing. So you're
Yeah.
kind of saying basically do all the hard work beforehand before you walk to the front door. So they're like, oh, Toby Martin, I've seen your videos. You're really good. I'm kind of ready to sign up with you, rather than you having to actually go, I'm Toby Martin. I know my stuff, by the way.
Yeah, and again, just consider the competition for a second. Again, not to get obsessed with what they're doing, but what are they not doing? Are all of your competition, are they sending personalized videos via WhatsApp 24 hours before the appraisal? Of course they're not. That's no, hardly anyone does that kind of thing. Are they lovely little gestures? Are they sending a text the morning of the appraisal asking if you want to grab a coffee for the client on the way to the appointment? Nobody does that. No. Have they got a one of the things I love to do, okay, a great team exercise you can do is to sit down with your valuers or your client-facing customers and get them to write out the top 20, 25 questions that come up during a market appraisal, and then whittle them down, say, to the top five. Then create a really impressive video, which it doesn't have to be all singing or dancing, just get good sound, good lighting, and it'll be fine, where you answer those top five questions. And then you have an email that goes out in the lead up to the market appraisal that says, we've put this video together, which is going to answer some of the questions that most frequently come up during our meeting, so that our time together in the property can be more productive. I would love you to watch this video ahead of our meeting. And that gives the impression that, you know, your appointment is going to be more productive, more valuable, because you've already imparted this knowledge and given them the benefit of this information ahead of the meeting. Again, think of your competition. Is anyone else going to have done that? Of course they're not. So finding these points of difference, it's not just doing a good market appraisal, it's doing a good market appraisal differently. There's going to be three, four other agents there. You have to stand out. So how are you going to do that?
I love that. You know that I'm a big fan of a hand-delivered pre-market appraisal letter, which obviously is a lot easier on the sales side of things because they tend to live in their own properties and that side of things.
Absolutely.
Already I'm thinking QR code, big arrow, here's our top five questions people want to know for a market. Yeah, I love that. Love
Yeah.
that stuff. So talk me through where we would find these mysterious landlords then. So you've obviously mentioned obviously kind of, you know, once they're sort of on the scene and on that journey and the market appraisals are coming through, where would we kind of look at and go, okay, do we go on like Gumtree? Do we go on Facebook? Do we get a sandwich board and walk up and down the high street? That's a great idea. What where do we go with this?
Actually, I'll piggyback onto that. One of my ideas, which I love, is you know me, Chris. I love my videos. One of the things I love doing is making videos around and about your town, and you know, doing market updates, you know, standing in the middle of the town square or whatever. Just to piggyback on what you said, one of the things that I love doing is design a a board about the size of a for sale board. You could even get it printed up by your board supplier, possibly. And it would have a picture of your face on it. So I've designed this, and across the top it says, "What on earth am I doing?" Because when you're standing in the middle of the town square and you've got your tripod set up and you're standing there on your own talking to a microphone, you don't half get some funny looks. And so it says, "What am I doing?" And then the next line says, "I'm a local property expert recording an update about the local market. Feel free to interrupt me if you'd like to come and chat about your house or whatever it is, and invite people to interrupt you and come and talk to you." And so being out there, being present, and sorry, that board, you would tape that to the legs of your tripod so that when people walk past the back of your tripod, they see it. So yes, being out there in the local community, but that's a nice little idea. It's not going to open the door to swathes of landlords, but you mentioned walking around with an A-board, so that is effectively doing that. The most effective ways that I find finding landlords is to okay, I'm going to say something now that sounds like ridiculous. It sounds like I've read it in a business book. It's to get them to come to you. What I mean by that is that we're very lucky letting agents. We don't know it, but we're very lucky that we live in this age of relentless legislation updates and law changes and having the rug pulled out from under our feet. And the reason why we're lucky is because that gives us such a platform to educate and to provide valuable knowledge and information to landlords who are out there desperately looking for it, because they are acutely aware that the rug is also being pulled from under their feet and they need support. And especially with the Renters' Rights Bill, I think that even the most reluctant landlord is aware that things are changing and they need help. So you can get landlords to come to you by being that person who provides them with the information that they're looking for, and that might be as simple as regular blog updates. Or it might be a little bit more adventurous in terms of running local landlord evenings, running webinars, and promoting those on Facebook to your local area. So setting yourself up, establishing yourself as your area's trusted expert by being out there providing that information, and build it and they will come. So that worked very effectively for me. I ran regular landlord evenings in Bath, and I did them for about 18 months before I left my post, and they steadily grew. And by the time I left, we were selling out our venue, which had a capacity of 50, and I was just looking at upgrading the venue. And at least 3/4 of the attendees were not clients of mine. They were not people who knew of my business, because I didn't promote it as a company event. I promoted it as, it was me, an expert, giving an evening of information to landlords. And the way that it was promoted, the way that it was publicized, there was no threat of being sold to, of having agency services shoved down your throat. So that just demonstrates that landlords are out there looking for help and looking for information.
And so it's kind of that sort of digital mayor sort of direction of us. Who is the authority? If I wanted to know about, who is, what's going on in the property market in Bath, I look at Toby's Instagram, Facebook, whatever it may be. If I want to know about legislation, I go on Toby's LinkedIn, for example. Is it that kind of like, point of authority that if you want to know, Toby's your guy?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the important part is to, I think that there's a very effective tool in establishing I think if you're going to go down this route, you should set yourself up with a separate, almost identity, which is split from your business, because not everyone is looking for a business. And so, I had a Bath landlord blog, not a company blog, and I had a Bath landlord Facebook page, a private page, just a safe place for Bath landlords to be given useful information, ask all the questions they want to ask without fear of recrimination. So I think by taking that neutral impartial approach. You will get landlords then come to you as a trusted expert, as the local lettings mayor, and you can then build that trust and then nurture them. And you're not hiding what you do. If they want to find your agency, they will, because everything is available online. So you don't always have to go in with the hard sell, the heavy pitch. Winning landlords is like trying to coax a nervous wild animal into the cage, and you have to do it softly and impartially, and trust comes first and then the selling.
I really like that. And I'd imagine that if you've got a Facebook group, for example, or a real life event or anything like that, and you've got kind of a sprinkling, let's say, of clients already, I'd imagine that almost, your referrals almost come via your clients because, people have conversations with other landlords at the event and they're like, oh, yeah, they ask a question of one of the other landlords. They're like, oh, I just asked Toby. And they kind of like do the sales bit for you. As long as you've done a good job for those people, obviously, they will kind of have conversations with other people in the room who may or may not be clients to yourself and kind of just say, yeah, I just get Toby to do my stuff for me.
And that's the sweet spot. That's what you want to aim for, and you can fuel that again by making sure that those people who you have started to nurture, you're sending them frequent information that is genuinely helpful and valuable. And like I say, we're so lucky to have the Renters' Rights Bill at the moment because that gives us such ample opportunity. And then those landlords will follow that, will forward those informative bulletins onto their contacts. If it is genuinely helpful, they will forward it on and say, you've got to see this. And to come full circle back to where I began, that whole thing about those magic words, you've got to see this. That should be laced throughout your business. And when I talk about being memorable and standing out from the crowd, bring it back to social media. Look at a standard estate agency social media feed. How many of those posts would you click on and send on to a friend and say, you've got to see this? Hardly any, because a lot of social media is very generic. It's lacking in personality. It's lacking in the old-fashioned sense of the word remarkable, being worthy of remark. Those we all sometimes send great marketing onto each other. You've got to see this advert. You've got to see this poster, whatever it is. Estate agents very rarely produce that kind of content. So when you are sending stuff out to your clients or putting it on social media, make sure it is genuinely remarkable. And the easiest way to do that is by putting yourself and your personality into it, because your clients will not be used to seeing that from other agents.
And what would you say to someone who listened to that then and thought, yeah, I understand what you're saying, Toby, and I know I should be getting myself out there and doing some social media stuff. I'm not doing the TikTok dancing, but I can do some information stuff and whatever else. But I don't really want to go on camera. I'm more of a behind the scenes sort of guy or
Yeah.
gal, and I don't want to put myself on the internet talking stuff because my friends will take the mick out of me and I'll look stupid and my hair might blow the wrong way one day and whatever else. What would you say to those people who thought that?
So I would say if I can do it, you can too, because for those of you who aren't familiar with me, I've spent many years now putting ridiculous things of myself onto the internet, but within a professional capacity. I throw eggs around my kitchen. I pour water over my head, and I'm not suggesting you do that with your clients. There's slightly different things you can do in a business to business versus business to client setting. So it's got to be professional, of course, and it has to be respectable. But the very first thing you should do is just get comfortable with appearing on camera. And I used to hate the prospect of that. I used to be absolutely awful at it. And the only way to do it is with consistency and regularity. First of all, make a commitment that you are going to do it. Because again, just like we were saying earlier about lettings, if you just dip your toe in the water, then you're going to give up in 6 weeks' time. So make a commitment, circle a date in your diary when you are going to post your first video on social media, let's say in a month's time. And then make sure that every day in the intervening period, you are recording some form of video, even if it's just for yourself, even if it's a daily diary where you're propping up your video on a ledge and saying, hello, well, this feels a bit weird. Yeah, okay, well, today I had salmon for lunch and then I went on a market appraisal and it was great. I think I could have done this better. And if you do that 30 days consecutively, then on the 31st day, you will undoubtedly feel less weird than you did on the first day. an even better way to do it is to partner up with somebody and set up a WhatsApp group and have a daily question. So, whether that is what's the best way to find new clients or what's the worst pizza topping, just have a daily question that you answer. But the one rule of that WhatsApp group is going to be you can only send messages with videos, no texts allowed. And that consistency, it's a habit like anything else. And the more you do it, the more natural you'll feel, the more comfortable you'll feel, because you're pushing the expanses of your comfort zone. You're taking something that was outside of your comfort zone, you're doing it regularly, and you're bringing it within what is coming to be your comfort zone that now includes that thing. And the last tip I'll give on that is that before you start recording, just embrace being stupid. And it's so this isn't just me being weird. This is it's science. And if you take something that is outside your comfort zone and you do something that is even further outside your comfort zone, then when you come back to the first thing, it will feel safer. So if you're about to speak on camera, then before you hit record in the privacy of your own room with the curtains drawn and with the door locked, just do something weird. Talk like Mr. Bean, or sing your script, or just shout something at the top of your voice, and then come back to talking normally on camera, and it will feel less strange because what you've just done is a whole lot weirder. So yeah, set yourself up for success by just embracing the awkwardness of the situation and breaking the ice by doing something a little bit out there.
Do you think that doing video for a longer period of time, you just care less? And I don't mean care less by the actual product, because obviously, like,
Yeah.
I still want it to look as good as possible, if not better than ever, sort of thing. But you just give less of a monkeys about either yourself or what other people think. You kind of just lose that sort of inhibition, let's call it.
Yeah, you do. And that whole thing about, it shouldn't be understated. We all have hang-ups about our appearances, about our voice. Chris, I'm someone with, I've got goofy front teeth. I've got a face that at best has been described as wonky. And I've got a voice which people, someone told me I sound like Robert Peston. Other people just go, oh, you sound posh. Like, we can all pick apart our appearances and we can all find fault in ourselves. Nobody else sees you in that way. Nobody else picks you apart like you do. And so if you just rip off the band-aid, if you start doing it, if you put yourself out there, you will find that nobody cares. Nobody will pick you up on these things. You will receive a lot of positive responses, because there is still admiration for people who do video, because so many people say, oh, I could never do that. A lot of people will say to you, that's great that you're doing that. So you will be surprised by the response you get. And yeah, like you say, you will just learn over time not to care. Like I said, if I can do it, why shouldn't you?
Love that. A very good place to wrap up today. Toby, thank you for coming on again. We'll have to have you back in the future. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Look forward to the next one. Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it, Toby.